Cool. Right. Okay. I think this, yeah, once again, this slide speaks for itself. Let me just give you a couple of opinions here about what I found works well. So this goes through the different ways to get into employment. And I know for those of you that are more experienced, you're going to have to bear with me as I go into this with some of the others. So apprenticeships are amazing, and apprenticeships are becoming an increasingly thought about thing when I take a role on. I've had roles this year where clients have been like, you know what I'd really like, Tom, is someone that has done more like 5 years, but they did it from scratch as an apprentice, and they joined, for example, the CBRE apprenticeship scheme, and they didn't do like a big degree and stuff, but they also didn't learn some of the bad habits that come from going to like a university course for many, many years. And they just know what it's like to work through multiple market cycles. And like I said, I think apprenticeships are actually really, really positive. And I would encourage anyone that's in the earlier portion of this seminar to look at those seriously, as they are excellent. Okay. Sandwiches are excellent as well. They're amazing to have, particularly great when a candidate can show they returned to that company because they were offered a full-time job. I mean, that is like a nuclear great thing when it does happen. And I mean, many reasons you might not want to return to a sandwich year full-time, but it basically tells the client you were excellent there because they were able to offer you a permanent position. It's a great way of breaking up studies. And the main thing about studies is I'm not always convinced that via the modules alone, you really get up to speed with how to pass a modeling test or do modeling in a more real world context. That's why like Bayfield can be great, right? But I think what a sandwich year can do is really transfer the years you've learned in year 1 and 2 into a real world context earlier. So you go into that final year knowing, okay, this is how it's actually applied. And I know that now. So I'm a massive fan of sandwiches. Internships are great as well. What would I say is a negative of an internship? I think some people I work with have so many of them. I think just be clinical and try, I think when someone has kind of 6, 7, 8 internships, even in challenging markets, you've just got to be cognizant about because one unfortunate thing when someone has like a lot of internships with no role is it looks like they were never offered a perm seat at all of these different areas. And to an extent, when you're not offered an internship in kind of rounds 1, 2, and 3, that's natural because rarely do internships materialize as permanent roles. But the more you have that don't lead into a logical kind of full-time role, I just want to spotlight how internships do have their pros and their cons, and you've just got to be quite careful sometimes with them. Another thing with internships I recommend you do is I think you need to be specific with the duration of them. So often I'll see an internship and it just has nothing on it. I asked the candidate and it was like 7 days. And that is going to trip you up when you're in a more intensive meeting and they say, oh, how long were you at Oxford Properties for, whatever? And actually you were there maybe like less than a week. So own the duration you were there for both ways. If it's longer, good. If it's shorter, also good. But don't let it be a trip up in the meeting itself. Just be nice and clear. Graduate schemes. Yeah, I talked about these earlier. Like my intuition when I'm advising a graduate is that normally it's the consultancies or like the big four where they have like a real estate financial program where you're most likely to go and get an amazing training scheme with rotations in different areas. So my intuition is it tends to be the larger, more corporate institutions that onboard sometimes hundreds of graduates a year. And I say graduate, I mean that loosely. I mean people that are entering their industry, entering it in a year, and they are just really used to and capable of doing it. And they know the classic ways of getting people back on track. And then because they're larger, there's lots of support networks around you and touch points to kind of help you get up to speed on certain things. And they just know what they're doing. So that's my intuition. The counter argument to that sometimes is they are so busy and there's so many people that are intakes that personalized attention of one-to-one, you might get that more in a smaller environment, maybe even an environment that's like sub 10 people. And I don't disagree. Like I think actually, yes, you might get a really nice experience in a smaller brand. And it could be the difference in you passing first time and not. But if I'm being ultra honest, I find that it's slightly more volatile in either direction. in a smaller business. You can get like an extremely good experience, or you can just feel like you're one of the first people this company's taken on at a year's experience, and they're so swamped because there's not many of them, and it's actually harder to get that day-to-day support and structure. I just want to say that there are pros and cons to both. Okay. Um, Cool. And on this slide, yeah, just wanted to highlight the different. So I've talked in loosely about consultancy, client side. Here are some actual companies I believe Bayfield also work like closely with that are helpful to see. And I want to also spotlight again the Land Collective, who provided a detailed list on different internship and apprenticeship schemes available. So for those of you that are in that more formative part of your career, I recommend looking into them on that basis for some guidance there. So just want to make sure I spotlighted that. And then I think we're getting there, Sonia, aren't we? I think we are training to improve your understanding. Yes. So I think I've explained this, yeah. So uh, there's lots to unpack on this slide, but as a general rule of thumb, all of this is beneficial. I think, upgrading. So your education, people might ask, do masters really help? And I think actually the answer is actually yes. Now there's an extreme financial consequence to doing a master's. What I would say is I don't think it does anything that a lot of hard work in a role doesn't do as well. But if you are tempted and financially it's viable for you and you're on the fence about a master's or enhanced learning, I do think they're great and I do think they can help people. And I think it's twofold. It's the skill you get in the masters and it's the people you meet in your network that are then going to just help you be more aligned with your future career. So in summary, I think it can be helpful, but I don't neglect the significant financial cost. And I think if it's not feasible for you, I still think you can make great strides without one. RICS accreditation, it's really helpful. I always laugh at the golden egg in my market is a chartered surveyor that can financially model because it gives the client the comfort that you get the bricks and mortar while also being very literate financially. So yes, it helps. Does it mean everything? No. I've had amazing candidates that have joined true through and through real estate property company environments and they haven't had the letters. They've just been financially proficient and they've shown they get L&T law and stuff. So like it isn't going to be like a complete game changer, but it's a bit even more than a master's probably. It really does help having the qualification. So do it and also ask your current company you work for like to obviously pay and support you through it. Then it becomes a bit of a win-win for everyone. The Bayfield courses are absolutely amazing, of course. Am I biased? I can't say yes or no. I mean, I must say, I feel like I am in many ways unclouded by saying this. A lot of the candidates I work with do the Bayfield course. They tell me that it really does help them. It helps bring some of that university knowledge into much more of a real world context. I want to say that Bayfield have a more recent course, which is more specifically about the art of passing the test, which is its own unique art. There's being good at modeling and there's knowing what to expect in a test. And I would encourage you to look at that if resources like this are helpful. I want to quickly break on this because I've got a question. What do PE firms with pan-European mandates want to see from potential candidates? Yeah, so good question. I think one answer is a language is really helpful. So if a P firm knows they're in these various jurisdictions and someone has fluent Italian, like yeah, it really helps. Of course, depending on the level of role, if it's more of associate plus, they would definitely value some existing experience in the geographies they target. That can be helpful too. If not, and it's more of an entry level role and they're in pan-European regions and you're kind of, your single language, I don't think they're looking for anything above and beyond what I've already advised in this call, which is, having a nice, specific, and detailed CV that is concise and has the right language around Excel skills and deal exposure. I don't think they're looking for more than that. Even if your experience is not in continental Europe and you're applying to a firm that is, I think if they're realistic about the level, they're just looking at a really good CV here. They're not looking for more. But of course, it's helpful if you do speak multiple languages to make sure that's nice and clear when you apply for that role. Okay, cool. Um, We're now on to point four here, improving real estate knowledge. Yes, I just want to say that actually, yes, I think you need to be in the detail week in, week out with brokerage reports and reading the news, because this classic question in interview, if you had 500 million, where would you invest? If you give an answer that's 3 years old and you say something like, oh, I want to get 16% IRR from logistics, you're going to get found out because maybe that was true before everyone discovered logistics and had some sort of subsidiary business that just covered logistics. Now the opportunities are far more precise in those sectors and they are more long-term development led. So you're going to shine more when you have updated real estate knowledge that factors into, oh, the central bank in this country became more lenient in their fiscal policy. So I think we should be targeting the rise in assets there from a lower interest rate. That's such a better answer than a really generic high level, oh, I read like property every month. Like you want to be in the detail throughout the week, honestly, to do this. Um, and then LinkedIn, yeah. So I want to say here that the Cobalt LinkedIn, we're really proud to have something that feels very market centric. We're constantly publishing articles on the phenomenons we're seeing in the market. So I think it's good to follow. I'm sure Bayfield is very similar. Make sure you follow the right publications on here and you just see the different market objects, the market updates. And it mentions at the end here job opportunities. Well, yeah, maybe that's the most obvious reason to be active in this area on LinkedIn and with Cobalt is if you follow us, if you engage with our content and the algorithm knows that you like seeing it, then I think by extension you will see when a role is available just because we're more naturally in your feed. So yes, to be really honest, having that as a plus is a benefit. Um, and I just wanted to say on that exact note, please do, if you're comfortable, follow us on LinkedIn and on our website because you'll see both the roles we post first, but also market updates and intel and comms and salary surveys and guides. You'll see all of this first when you follow us. So if you've